I almost feel like he needs a bit more design, so maybe some kind of side skirts or something like that. If he's a warrior, then he's got all kinds of different materials going on. I'm actually going to bring that out with a line like this and just fill that in. So don't be afraid to change the shape, add in new information, and again, experiment. And I'm almost not liking the center under rouge type thing. It just looks like too much of a superhero. So let's go ahead and add one more to the front. Get rid of the undies. Yeah, looks a bit more appropriate. There we go. So fill that all in and lock that. Okay, so we're getting there little by little. Just keep poking around at these ideas and develop this character. More anatomy choices. And we could put some patterns on these, whatever we can think of there. Actually, that looks a bit too boring. Let me think of something a little better than just crisscross lines. Maybe some scroll work. So I'm just going to implement it with this scribble for now, but to me this is scroll work, and I can come back and I can either create a texture or I can painstakingly draw in every little scroll. Well, something like that should break up the monotony. In this one, I'm going to do a bit of an edge. And maybe some kind of pattern. Something like that. Now you probably see I haven't done a whole lot of shading, but that's mainly because I'm going to let the paint work, whatever I decide, because I'm still thinking about this being a painting, not a drawing, like I said, or I would have just gotten rid of the flood fill background at this point, worried more about my perimeter line work. But when I paint this, I'll add in all my shadows. So I'll kind of allude or hint to the shadows, but I don't need that at this point. I'm still just developing ideas. Once I have a very concrete concept of what it is this character is and looks like, then I just go to paint. In fact, there's a lot of times I go to paint even a lot quicker than what you see here. But for the explanation of this series of lessons, I want to make sure to really take my time and kind of overdevelop the concepts for you, so that if you're a bit newer to this type of illustration work, you gain more from it. If I just jump through and show you how fast I can do something, that doesn't benefit you as much, I believe. So but notice I'm being very loose and sketchy. I'm not worrying too much. I'm not, if I was trying to make every line perfect, I'd be a lot tighter to the character. I zoom in and out to mess around with this. And some lines are better more scribbled in, like the texture that I'm trying to get. Well, texture generally is always better scribbled in. So not too caught up with trying to make this pristine drawing. Now I might tighten up for something like the face, something like that. I generally wanted to try to make a bit more confidently, more readable. The details are smaller too, so I got to be careful. Unless I'm just gonna block in lots of shadow. In that case, I can really kind of cheat it. But I think a lot of this information here is going to be visible, so I need to, maybe tighten up, like I said, on this area. I always feel like you should spend the most time on the face, unless of course it just comes out really easy and you're struggling with a different part of your illustration. But the face is where we spend the most time relating to our characters, so it makes sense that that needs to be, it's a focal point. It needs to read the best. So you can do yourself a service by spending more time on your faces and less time on other things else if absolutely need be. So kind of liking this texture here, this kind of swirling bone or something like that. Kind of wondering if I want to give him some cool facial hair. I think maybe. Tiny little pupils, like he's very focused on hurting you. Whatever he's thinking, I don't know. But expressions are important, so I want him to have this expression that he's just not to be messed with. That's hopefully what I'm conveying there with those tiny little eyes. And yeah, maybe a little bit of scruff anyways. So let's try, we'll start with scruff and then we might elaborate further to a bit of a goatee or something. But again, I'm just going to scribble this in. I'm just trying to really see if I want it in there, but I think so. I think he needs something. Got to further shape the eyebrows. Remember that adding lines is going to add age. Maybe a scar on the eye, something like that might be kind of cool. Maybe that's why he now wears his helmet. He's learned his lesson. I feel like, this trap needs to be higher. I look like I'm missing paint over there, so I'm going to jump in there and fix that real quick. Yeah, so we're getting a little bit closer there, and yeah, he's starting to read more effectively. That's what I want. So we'll go ahead and wrap up right here, and we will continue on and continue to develop this character. So with that, let's move on.